As the economy is experiencing a strong recovery from pandemic, the inflation rate is rising. Many people are worried because inflation rate is the least predictable things in the economy. So, does this rising of the inflation rate is it temporary or it will be out of control? So the inflation is when the prices rise over time. Products and services cost more than they used to. So in the rich countries, central banks tend to maintain the prices rise approximately 2% a year. But many people have the question that why the inflation rate is low because they didn't expect that it will be low like that. So, however, with the pandemic, this event has caused the inflation rate to rise. For example, in July 2021, in the US, the inflation rate rose to 5.4%, Euro rose to 3%, and especially in Brazil, the inflation rate rose more than 9%, rose to more than 9%. So the central banks still think that inflation will stop. But if what if in the case that we will experience the great inflation in the past? The great inflation is occurred in the US when the inflation rate rose to 14%. So the root cause of this event, if this event, is because of rising oil prices and also the loose monetary policies. How about this time? So this time the cause for the rising of inflation rate is that inflation is calculated the way is lie in the way that inflation is calculated. So because of the sharp dip in last year, the inflation rate tends to look higher, and this is the base effect. So one more cause is that because the disrupted supply chain caused the demands to increase and everything seems to be expensive, more expensive. Moreover, the government also has the stimulus policy so that when more money is circulated in the economy, people will tend to have more demand for things, for goods and services. So what about the emerging markets? They also suffer from disrupted supply chain. And one more thing is the extreme weather. This caused crop shortages and food will become more expensive. So how to slow the inflation rate? So this the answer is belong the answer belongs to the central banks. So the central banks will try to increase their interest rates. By doing that, people will tend to save more, and this will help to slow the economy and slow the price increase. Uh, Unlike the rich countries where they think that inflation rate is not something that we will be so worried about, in emerging countries, for example, in Brazil, they have increased the interest rate 5 times this year. So finally, the people's expectation decides what the inflation rates will be. And experts think that as long as the central banks can maintain independence and also their focus, then we should be all right. And we shouldn't be worried too much about high inflation rate.